Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Pod of War Games cast. I'm your host, EOF Gizmo, joined this week by Xbox Live, CW Lanky.
Hello.
And of course, the man who sometimes has a plan. It's Masterdash Chris Mengele.
Hello, everyone.
So guys, it's another week. I've just reminded myself, because I've just said Craig's intro, that I got a little email today saying that my Xbox Live account is 18 years old today.
Oh, do you have the 18 next to it? Or?
No, I don't. Do you know why?
That's a shame.
So
Shame.
I got hacked. So I had to change the gamer tag from Sabbath Templars to EOF Gizmo, and it's just done it from when I was at EOF Gizmo. So I think it's like 10. So which is bad enough. Like, I was hacked after uni, so I was just like, that was the Battlefield 3 demo, by the way, that I got hacked from. So big shout out to EA for that.
Fuck Battlefield.
Oh, we were all playing it in that, like, so this is just, I've already started randomly. We were playing that demo in our house after uni. There was like 6 of us, and then it kicked me out like randomly, and then I couldn't get back in. And then when I did, someone had spent like 70 quid. And this is back when I used to live on the edge of my £2,000 overdraft. I think Damon had to lend me like £100. Like, I was like furiously like ringing the bank and X1, and they wouldn't give me the money back. So I ended up with just 70, like, I think it wasn't even pounds then. I think it was points. So I think I had like,
all in points.
So I think I had like, I don't know, like 15,000 Xbox points, which I don't even know what I spent it on. But anyway, 18 years. There's people watching this that probably aren't even 18. That's really bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, it's another week. It's gonna be a good week this week. I'm not as hungover, so I'm not quite as sassy as I was last week. So big shout out to Al for.
Although Sassy Dave was fun, to be fair.
It was tired, Dave. It was really tired, Dave. Maybe we'll be a bit of sass later. Chris is here, so we can always rely on a bit of sass. So obviously, if you've been watching the channel this week, we've had a new video, and that's Chris's Samurai Warriors 5 first look, I suppose. Is there any sort of first impressions you can give us, Chris, of that game?
Not much more than like sort of last week. I played a bit more of it. I've done 3 chapters now of the one character. I've unlocked the first chapter of the other character as well. So just playing a bit, bits and pieces of it, really.
Nice. So I'm expecting to hear more, obviously, in the Game of the Year discussion.
Is it? Have those games moved on to like? Is it just like one set campaign now, or do you just do the same campaign with like 30 different characters?
It's sort of one. There's 2 main characters. And it's their story. So like in the first mission of the one character, you fight the other one. So now I've unlocked that one. There's obviously going to be the other way around, and you're gonna thing. But like I said, I'll mostly do the 5 or 6 chapters of the one character, then do the 5 or 6 of the other character, and then that's job's good one. Then
is this one open world like the most recent Dynasty Warriors? So it's like the old ones. Because this just sounds literally just sounds like Kessen. That was the story of Kessen, which is also just Dynasty Warriors. Which I think Kessen might be Japan, right? So this literally might be the story of Kessen. I'm really throwing fucking Chris back to a game from 21 years ago now, by the way. So that's why his brain's just like, I don't remember Dave.
I remember.
It's Nobunaga Oda, I think.
I think I had. Pretty sure I had Kessen.
I've still got it. I've got 1 and 2.
Something like that. Oh, yeah. Because I think they was Koei Tecmo as well, weren't they?
They are Dynasty Warrior games, but they were like Age of Empires.
You had the big. Because you had
They
the
were
bigger,
more strategic, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. You had the
The first one you couldn't even become the dudes. In the second one, I think you could. The first one was literally it was like watching like a History Channel thing. I used to love those games, by the way.
Were they even in English, the Kessen games?
Yes, they had awful voice acting.
Oh, nice.
Like really like over the like you'd love it. Like the characters would be like, I've come to get you. It was brilliant. It was awful, but yeah, I love the Kessen games. But
yeah.
Anyway, cool. So we'll transition that straight into what we've been playing. Obviously, we'll start with Craig. Craig, what have you been playing this week?
So I have now finished Immortals Phoenix Rising. That is now done. I'm not quite sure what I finished on, like 45, 50 hours. I think it took me in the end. I think I'm just going to sell out. I don't think I'm going to bother with the DLC because it doesn't sound like the DLC does anything particularly new or exciting. And obviously because I lost my save once, like I've played it for so much at this point. I'm like, I think I'm just going to sell that and move on. But yeah, it's a decent enough game. And then the only other thing I've played is Raji and I can't remember.
Almost there. Raji and Ancient Epic.
That's it. Which is it's a strange name for a video game. But it is good fun. It's on Game Pass now. I think it launched Was it on Xbox before it's on Game Pass, or did it launch straight onto Xbox?
I think it
Game
launched
Pass?
onto Xbox Game Pass because it was on PS4 and Switch and
Yeah.
Steam last year.
Oh,
'cause
no, I
played
think it
last
was
year.
already on Xbox. I'm pretty sure I had it in my wish list because I was
Oh,
waiting.
okay.
Because I remember I was saying I was waiting for it to go on sale. 'cause
Oh
you
no, yeah,
mentioned
no,
it
they were
before.
they were different prices. That's
Mm.
they were, yeah, they were. So I think they might have been £1 cheaper on Xbox or something stupid. I remember it's on the podcast. I talked about it on like when we first launched this. So.
Nice. But yeah, I finished that. I have got the completion for that as well now. I did make the mistake of on my first playthrough, I missed 2 achievements. I had to go back and do another little like half playthrough just to get those 2. So if you do play this, you want to get the completion, make sure you get it all in one go because there is no chapter select or anything like that in this game. So
It is
if
quite
you
short
miss-
though, to be fair.
Yeah, if you miss something, you have to go all the way back through. Luckily for me, it was like the first half of the game that I'd missed. So I didn't have to go too far back, so it didn't take me too long. Like Dave said, it's not that long, but it is good fun. So it's got quite cool like combat. Some of the platforming can be a bit of a pain in the ass because of where the camera is. In particular, it has like a wall running mechanic, which luckily it doesn't use very often. Because when it does use it, it is pure AIDS. It is awful.
Yeah, thank God the like respawn time, especially on the newer
Yeah.
consoles, is very good. Because yeah, there's some bits where you're just like, I'm pressing the button. I don't know what
Yep.
you want me to do.
Yeah, 100%. But it's also quite cool to have a game like set in India and be about like Indian religion and mythology. Because it's not really a common setting for video games. There's a lot in like Greece or like Greek mythology. So that was quite cool, and it had like a lot of like Indian music playing in the background, which was
Lots of
again,
sitar, lots and lots
Yeah.
of sitar. It was cool.
which again was quite cool. It's quite refreshing to play something like that, and it also looked really pretty as well. I did look for some reason. I don't know if it just has standard HDR in the game. I think it must do because it didn't have like the auto HDR icon up. So I'm guessing, like I said, it was just built with standard HDR because it looked beautiful. This game for an indie game, which is probably made by a very small team. So yeah, it's one I would definitely recommend. I know Dave, you've played it a bit this week as well.
Yeah, I played it before, and I'm almost done with it again this week. And yeah, it's obviously I don't talk about indie games very often on this show, which is a running joke. But like, I really enjoyed it. It's weird. It kind of has like some sort of like a little bit of Uncharted to it as well. I think it's like when you die, it does the whole grey screen. It's a little action adventure game. It's isometric. It's sort of, you got 2 sort of god characters narrating as you go. It's got some really cool like cartoon like cutscenes that are very interesting and very like puppety in a way, like silhouetted. But yeah, it's one of those games I do recommend. It's quite simple for what it is, but it is short. I think it's like 4 hours, maybe 5. To 100%. I found like I learned a lot about Indian mythology. I think it's Hinduism, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to be wrong. But yeah, it's cool. It's one of those. It feels like it kind of feels like a tech demo for like what they want. Like they could make a bigger game out of it. Like it kind of feels like, because it does end quite abruptly, and you kind of like, cool. So you could make a bigger game. So I hope it does well, and it does get a sequel. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the 2 games I played this week as well. So that's one game I do recommend. I'm surprised a lot of people don't talk about it as much, really, considering like it is quite high quality, like you said. I think it's like £20 usually, but it's not one that gets talked about very often. Nice.
Cool, and that was it from me.
Cool. So we'll transition, because the only other game I've played. So I played Raji, and I'll finish that today. But I've played it before, and the only other game I've played, this is one for Chris, and I'm 2 hours into this, and that is Metal Gear Solid on the Vita, because I was like, you know what, right? I've literally never got close. So I've been watching Kind of Funny play it. I was like, you know what, I'll watch Snowbite Mike talk about it, and I'll play it and see how far I can get. So I'm 2 hours in now, which is the furthest I've ever been in the first game.
Mike and Barrett are playing, aren't they? I believe.
Yes, yeah.
Because I watched the Gamecast where they talk about does it hold up, and they both Barrett and Mike was like, yeah, it does.
It's tough, right? So it's a PS1 game. Like, there's no avoiding. It's an early PS1 game as well, because it doesn't appear to have analog stick support. It's weird. It's
I
like,
believe it was 1999. I think it was.
it might even be older than that. I think it might be 98.
No, I think it was that year. Because I remember it was like the same year as Ocarina of Time and stuff. Great year.
I'm almost certain Ocarina of Time's 98. I'm gonna look that up in a second.
Europe.
Okay. But so my initial thoughts, from a cinematic perspective, it is crazy that this game is over 20 years old, because it does do a lot that games now don't do. Like its voice acting is very strong. Its cinematic sort of posturing is also very strong. Gameplay wise, it's okay. It feels like it doesn't even feel like a PlayStation game. It feels like a Super Nintendo game because it's like isometric and the systems are kind of weird. The button layout is really strange, which I know is a common thing. Like I kept pressing X to like confirm stuff, and obviously I was like, it's a Japanese game, so circle is accept, which is like,
remember, it's bad on purpose, Dave.
No, this case it's not. It's just they've not because in Japan it's the other way around. Circle is accept, cross is cancel, and they never converted it like back over to
and it does like things like obviously that modern games don't just like using a weapon. It's like square as opposed to like a trigger. And obviously on the Vita I have the problem where there isn't the trigger button, so you have to use the touchpad on the back, and that isn't massively reliable. So if you're trying to like switch, but I think like I'm liking it more than I thought I would. Like if that's a statement, like and obviously I'm completely detached from the whole Kojima thing. I've got no interest in who made it. I'm just playing the game for what it is, and the story is very interesting for the first game. Like obviously it helps I know about the previous games because I like Metal Gear Solid is one of those series I always like watching like stuff about it, but like the thought of playing it has always been like please God no. But I own like all the games, so I was like, I'm just gonna play it and see and give my own actual thoughts. So hopefully next week I might be done with it next week and I can fully give my thoughts. But so far like I'm enjoying it. It's for me, it doesn't hold up anywhere near as much as say Ocarina of Time or Final Fantasy or stuff like that, but I think the genre has changed massively since then. So like this was really one of the first games of its type. Like if I think of games that were similar on the PlayStation 1, like Siphon Filter is about the only thing I can think of, and even that is a behind the character third person game, whereas this is essentially an isometric top down stealth game. And the stealth looks pretty good. I'm playing it on easy because I'm rubbish at stealth. Sue me. I'm getting used to the fact that saving isn't like a save state. It's just like for a section, which has killed me a couple of times, where it's like, oh, I've got all my weapons from this section, so I'll save it, and then I'll die, and it'll take me to the beginning of the section, so I have to go and get all the weapons again and stuff. But it's okay. Like, it's one of those games. If it got like a remaster or a remake on modern consoles, I think that'd be great. I do wish it was on Xbox, just because I'm going to play pretty much all the rest of the games on Xbox, because I own them all on either the original Xbox, the 360, or the Xbox One. So this is basically the only PlayStation outing that I'm going to go for the series if I continue it. So
I was going to say the only other option would have been PC for like the.
I could have emulated it, but like I own it on Vita, so I was like, I might as well just play. I could have played it on my PS3
or Twin Snakes, but then that's like.
Yeah, I still have to dig the GameCube out for Twin Snakes. I promised I didn't want to play Twin Snakes and then go back to 2. I know it's the same engine, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't want to throw off. But yeah, so to surprise everyone, I've played Metal Gear Solid this week, and it's okay. I will give you my full thoughts next week, Craig, don't worry. So moving on from Metal Gear Solid and Raji an Ancient Epic, let's go to Pengi. What have you been playing?
Not a lot, really. I've just been sort of like bouncing between things. Like I said, talked about Samurai Warriors already. Tried that Omno like 3D platformer a bit yesterday. I don't really, because it's reviewed really well, and I was like, and I like a 3D platformer and that. It feels like it's trying to be like Journey-ish and that sort of thing, and I don't know if like one or two people have made it or something like that. I don't know. It's even like I'm a big indie game fan, and it's doing nothing really for me from like the 2 or 3 zones I've played on it. I've played things like this before, and there's other things like this out there that like do it better. It is, like I said, it's on Game Pass, so I can come back to it and stuff like that. And it's quite small, so it's not like it's taking up hard drive space or anything like that. Again, I messed around with the Ascent last night because obviously it was a new-ish Game Pass game. The actual world is absolutely beautiful, and some of the effects when they have explosions and that looks really good. The actual character and some of the other character models look a bit iffy, but it's one of those like higher budget indies or lower budget like double A sort of games and sort of things. So I can kind of forgive it. The characters models fair when the rest of it looks so good. messed around with that. Did like the first sort of 2 missions. Actually, seems like it actually could be a pretty decent game. And then the only other thing that I played that I really got into, I played some more Great Ace Attorney. So I'm still on the first game. I did the second case. I say case because obviously you think, oh, you're a lawyer, you're a great ace attorney. It actually takes place on a ship instead, and you're not doing any sort of lawyering. You're doing some other bits and stuff, but you're still like the visual novel aspect. You're still looking for clues and all that sort of thing. But yeah, surprisingly much better than I thought. I did think, like I said, I think I mentioned last week, like, because it's mainly been the Nintendo exclusive and stuff like that. Maybe it's got like sort of overhyped and stuff like that. But yeah, from the first 2 cases, and I've started the 3rd case of the first game. Much better than I thought. And it's like, yeah, this actually, people, right, this is a good game. So I'm going to continue. So next week I'll mostly finish the first game in the collection by next week, hopefully.
Nice. I look forward to
from what I heard, obviously some people have had the game as well. I finished the first game. Apparently the second game ramps up and is much better. So I don't know if I'll go straight from the first game straight to the second game, because there's a lot of Ace Attorney right off, and I think they're like, I don't know, good 8-10 hour games and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to go straight from the first to the second, but I hear the second is much better for people that have got to it already. So
nice.
Yep.
Good stuff. So a nice concise week for us all. Lots of surprises. I'm waiting for Craig to play something really random, like Tales of Vesperia or something. But
I thought you were playing Final Fantasy X this week. Did I receive that?
No, I played. I installed it on Xbox. It's one I want to get to, but the Xbox right now is very much the I need to finish The Witcher 3 machine. So the thing about the Vita, and the reason I like the Vita so much, is I can play it like in bed.
You can play your 10.
I do own it on Vita as well, so I have it physically on Vita. But I was watching the kind of funny streams.
It was the 20th anniversary of Final Fantasy X on there, I think, this week.
Oh, don't. I remember buying that game when it came out. So let's not reminisce on how old we are, because it could be an existential crisis week, Greg.
I do hope we do a 21st anniversary PS2 special.
21st? No, we're not doing 21st. 25th maybe, if we're still alive by then. But
why 21st?
This is 21st anniversary this year, the PS2, isn't
unfortunately,
it?
Chris,
it can now drink in the States.
Yeah,
we're going to do a 22nd anniversary. Where'd you stop with that? That's just silly.
This year, Chris, the only anniversaries we are celebrating are the Xbox anniversary and the Halo anniversary, which are the 20th this year. So that is the ones we'll be doing episodes on. Maybe me and Craig will just play Halo 1 just on stream or something, because we haven't done that in like 7 months or something, Craig. So Halo's so close.
I tried Halo 2 for God knows how many time.
I also forgot to mention, because obviously last week was weird, right? I did play a little bit more of Halo Infinite. I did play the PvP, and that game's still great. Can't wait. Let's just come out now so we can play it with Craig. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the topic of the show, boys. So the topic of the show this week, like an actual topic for a change, instead of just our lazy what's coming out this year, it's going to be games with intros that hooked us. So obviously I've been playing Metal Gear Solid, which was kind of the inspiration for this, because I don't think the intro is actually very good. So the fact that I've stuck around, because I usually used to get to like half an hour in and be like, what is this crap? Whereas, because it's quite slow, it does that thing where it stops and goes, Snake, I need to tell you this important information. And you're like, bro, some dude bro was shooting at me. The intro cutscene's good, Chris. The actual game bit is like kind of crap.
The intro is... See, I don't know what you consider the intro on that, but I would say the intro is quite short. It's basically up until the elevator.
So the intro to me is the
Spoilers
first...
It's the first 20-year-old game.
So the intro is considered the first 2 hours, sorry, because the first 2 hours are what it takes to hook a player. Don't me, Chris. That's the actual metric the game developers use. So it's the first 2 hours. In the first 2 hours, you need to hook the player. That's what I've classed as an intro, right? So we're going to talk about it. So I'll start off to make it easy, so you guys can follow my lead, as to speak. So I'm going to go in age order, because I'm weird like that, and I've chosen the big boy, the big bastard. It's Halo Combat Evolved. Now this is my actual copy of Halo Combat Evolved from like almost 20 years ago when I bought it. Obviously, the first mission for that game was the Pillar of Autumn. So a little bit of backstory context for where I was with Halo. I bought Halo because it was part of a 2 for £30 deal in GameStation. I didn't know what it was. Someone had told me that this Halo thing was good, and it sat on my shelf for 2 weeks while I played Kung Fu Chaos, which was a Power Stone 1970s joke party fighting game. Yes.
From Ninja Theory.
From Ninja Theory. So it's an Xbox. It was an Xbox exclusive, I believe. I literally, like, my original Xbox was Project Gotham Racing and then Kung Fu Chaos for like 2 weeks until I put Halo in. So this copy of Halo just sat there. I didn't know what was in it. And then I played it. And Pillar of Autumn is like one of the best intro levels in like any game, especially a shooter at the time. Like, it really introduces the world, the stakes, the combat, like everything gets introduced in that first mission. I think it's the archetypical good first mission, because you really, by the end of that mission, you're like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know what's going on. Let's do this. And yeah, just the story of Chief just gets better on from there. I think the second and third levels of that game are even better, but like specifically talking about this intro, I think it does an amazing job of introducing the game to you, and I was hooked. As soon as I played Pillar of Autumn, I played until that game was finished. So I don't know if any of you guys have got any Halo intro memories.
I was thinking, obviously, and I knew what you were going to say, because that was one I was thinking of, because that is a great first level, and like you said, it goes into the second level Halo and how it finishes and stuff like that. It's good. And then guess how Reach ends to this as well. So yeah,
good stuff.
I think it's a general thing. Pretty much all the Halo games tend to have very strong opening levels and very strong like fun end levels, don't they?
Yeah, yes, they do.
It's quite consistent throughout the whole series.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think even Halo 5, the first mission is the best mission, if my memory serves me, on the snow.
I think Halo 4 as well. Is that the one in the jungle?
That's in the ship. Halo 4 is
3's jungle one.
Halo 3's jungle. Halo 2 is the station, and Halo 4 is Halo 4's you're on the ship, aren't you?
I can't remember.
Yeah, you're on a ship. It's like you are. You're on the ship.
I know the first levels tend to be like the hardest as well. When you do your hardest difficulty playthroughs of the Halo games, for some reason,
apart from Halo 2.
Yeah.
That's the second level because of those fucking jackals. Oh my god. Anyway, the PTSD that me and Craig have about Halo 2 on Legendary is like insane. It's just like, it's bad.
But we've not even got to the third levels yet, have we? At any point?
No, because it broke, didn't it? It gave me an achievement and not you. So we'll have to do it again, Craig. We'll have to do it. So anyway, moving on from my Halo list, let's go to Craig. Craig, a game with a good intro.
So I really struggled with this because I must have just the worst memory ever. Trying to think of actual openings to video games. I think I tend to remember the ends more than the openings. But the first one that really kind of jumped out to me that was obvious was Jedi Fallen Order, which I played quite recently, so that might be part of the reason why I remember it. It's got really good opening level where you are like salvaging on a ship and the ships are all falling to pieces and you are kind of running and sliding and jumping around. Has really awesome kind of cinematics on the ship as well. Introduces you to the kind of two characters, the main one and one that's only really around for the start, but has quite an emotional effect on the story. But yeah, it's a very fun level, great opening, just a good job of kind of setting the gameplay up as well as actually the story.
Yeah, I think about the opening level for Jedi Fallen Order. It does a great job of setting the scene for the universe, because it's, when you load up a Star Wars game, it goes one of two ways, right? Either goes happy-go-lucky, Star Warsy, Phantom Menace, or it goes like dark, gritty, like the stakes are high, and it kind of Jedi Fallen Order does the latter. Like, your character is like, right, I can't show my powers. Then you have to show your powers. The consequence of showing your powers, like, is quite threatening. The Inquisitors don't screw around, and you learn that pretty quick. Like there's a clear villain very early in the game. It's like, cool, this is interesting. You want to see where the story goes, and obviously you get saved in the weird looking ship at the end. But yeah, no, that's the game. Like, that's the whole point of this topic, is that's the type of level that hooks you, especially as a Star Wars fan, because you're playing that and you're like, I want to know what's going on here. I want to know who Cal is. I want to know what he's going to do, and all this kind of stuff. And it does quite a good job of introducing the combat as well, right? If I pretty remember, I think you kill some stormtroopers on a train. It does like the whole like big set piece.
A lot of parkour as well.
Yeah, and then obviously, which is the difference for that game, is the second level is much more chilled out. It's much more of like an exploration sort of thing, which is cool. But yeah, that's a good choice. And obviously, we're probably going to get a sequel soon. So
Hopefully.
Yeah, EA, I think they said they're going to invest in the franchise. 'Cause it's done really ridiculously well as well. So.
Star Wars, isn't it?
Star Wars and Respawn, who have never missed. So, and obviously EA are better than Activision now, so we can all celebrate that. Up the EA, am I right? The best company ever. Right, Pengy, let's get obscure game number 1.
It's not an obscure game. You've mentioned the franchise today, but it's not Metal Gear Solid 1. It might be controversial, as in Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. Which obviously the opening...
Future spoilers for me, but I'm joking.
It's the tank, which is the tanker level. Where you get to play, where you play as Solid Snake himself. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing with that level, right, is it's a bait and switch, right? And that's like the big thing. And I know the actual level is like one of the best levels in the game. I think it might even be the best part of the game, right?
Yeah, because you're on the tanker.
Yeah, it's like a condensed game almost. It's like a condensed enhancement of the first game.
And it set up obviously some of the characters like Olga and stuff like that, and other things to then obviously go into the oil tanker and stuff like that with Raiden. For that, and there's like the bait and switch afterwards and that, especially like when I first played it on the PS2, and like you weren't, because none of the coverage and stuff was like showing Raiden. It was all Snake.
Raiden is not on anywhere on the game cover or on the back of the original. It is. I've got Substance on the Xbox, so it is on that.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's funny to me. So would you consider that a good level though? So were you like, right, I want to know when Snake's back, or I want to know what's happening to Snake when you first played it, or was it more like the shock and awe of it kept you playing, if that makes sense?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like shocked, like, oh, who's this weird blonde dude? Like, where's Snake? Well, when we playing Snake again and stuff like that, because obviously it's Metal Gear Solid, game. Even though it's not the second one, because obviously had Metal Gear where you're playing.
It's the second Solid game. You're right in that regard.
Yeah, so it was like that, but obviously it introduces the combat, and because obviously there is some changes and things, and then like even the technical prowess, like the ice actually melts and stuff like that at real time on the tanker. To obviously, for then that was like mind blowing. On the PS2, it was like the game that's like basically sold me on the PS2 sort of thing, and that opening level is still pretty great now.
Nice. I look forward to.
It'd be interesting when you get to.
Let's not go with when. Let's go if I get to Metal Gear Solid 2. If I get to Metal Gear Solid 2, I might have to start like doing videos about it just to see like an idiot play stealth games.
It's interesting that you're going in game release order and not timeline order.
Well, the problem is that if I go timeline order, I'll be playing like a game that's later and has better shit, and then trying to go back to like
is always awful.
You know what I mean? Whereas I would rather the gameplay get gradually better to 5, which I know is like the best gameplay of the games.
I just thought of something. You got to play 4 on PS3.
I've got that. Let's hear. There we go. I own Guns of the Patriots, so I will play.
So you do have to play another one on PlayStation.
Are you going to play what was the hack and slash one? It wasn't
Rising. One moment.
That was the only one that's ever looked appealing to me.
Yeah, on Xbox. Yeah, this is really one of the reasons I want to play it, because the ones I've played and liked is Peace Walker and this. So I'm like, well, anyway, we're not talking about Metal Gear. We'll do a Metal Gear episode in a few weeks, Chris. Okay, if I finish the game, that's my promise. So we're back around to me. So I'm going to get a little bit more interesting than Halo this time, which is, I think, arguably of all the games I've chosen, this is the best opening level, but it's the least representative to the rest of the game, and that is, of course, Double Fine's Brutal Legend, which has one of the just balls out amazing opening levels. So if you haven't played Brutal Legend, why not? You should play Brutal Legend. It's a hack and slash game / RTS, which is weird because you didn't know about the RTS bit really, especially when you play the first level. So the thing that set the scene for you, the game opens with a live action video of Jack Black as himself going to a music store, and then like he finds like a vinyl and it's Brutal Legend. So that alone is awesome. Like the menu screen is amazing. Like the first time you play that game, you're like, this is sick. Then obviously the like Motorhead, Saxon, AC/DC music starts. So you're like, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. And so the intro level is basically you get sucked into the world from the real world because you're a roadie, and it's like a big like God of War hack and slash thing. There's this big like you get like a car and you have to drive through this like hellish like rock album basically to escape to Motorhead's back at the funny farm, and it's insane and it's brutal. You have some really good like fights, and then you get out into the open world, and it's like when I played that level, it was everything I wanted, you know what I mean? So like that game came out in 2009, so I couldn't have been more into Motorhead if I tried. And it's hack and slash, and it's Jack Black. Yeah, it did everything, and it sets the scene for the world, which is pretty cool because the world is basically a rock album. Like you know the old like Dio and Iron Maiden rock albums, like that is the inspiration for the world. Like, everything's like metaled up the ass, and it's fantastic. But yeah, it does a really good job of hooking you into the game. Now the game gets weird because it does have the weird third-person RTS game stuff like 4 hours in, and by the end of the game, that's like all you do, and you hate it because it's so hard. But it's an interesting game. It's one of those games that I wish had a sequel because I think it could really refine like the systems, and it's on Game Pass. I really do recommend it. It's not very long. I think it's about, I want to say 8 hours, maybe 10. To like play it all the way through, and the soundtrack alone for Craig, who I know has a similar music taste to me, is worth it. Like the soundtrack is so good. The fact that Ozzy Osbourne is in it, and he's your like upgrade guy. He's the like master of hell or whatever he is. And then I think you have Lemmy as well from Motorhead. He's like your healer. He heals you with bass, which is just sick. Rob Halford from Judas Priest is 2 villains. Tim Curry's one of the villains as well. It's good shit. I think Chris must have played Brutal Legend. Maybe even a little bit. No?
I think I'm not sure.
Because I know you don't like Double Fine, really, do you?
No, I've never really liked that. I love Tim Shosha every time I see him on like a Xcast or whatever and stuff. Like him, great guy. But like I've tried to play like their games and stuff, and they've never clicked with me. I think if any's going to click it, I've not played Psychonauts 1, but like Psychonauts 2 because it's a 3D platformer sort of thing, where like I think for me like Double Fine, I think you like to your Broken Age or before that, the old Lucas games and stuff like that, where they're more point and click, adventures and things like that. So I've never really got on too well, with them, but Psychonauts 2, it's not long, it's on Game Pass, and it's 3D platformer, so
it's a shame. I know Craig hasn't played Brutal Legend, but you really should. It's that's one of those games you get a weekend and you can't think of what to play. It's on Game Pass. It's a fun time, especially if you just chuck on. If you really don't like the RTS stuff, chuck on easy. It's not just run through listening to Motorhead and Saxon. Basically, it's great stuff. But yeah, Craigo, what's next?
So this, it's not really much of a level, I don't think, but it's more of like the opening kind of cinematic, and you basically just walking around and interacting with the world a little bit, and that is the opening of BioShock. You start on the plane, and then the plane crashes, and then I think you go to the watchtower, you swim to the watchtower, you get spoke to, I believe, by one of the characters for a bit, and then you do the classic elevator down to Rapture. It's the first time you see Rapture, and the first time you see it, it looks incredible, having the big city underwater, which I can't remember. There's like a great deal of gameplay after that, but yeah, just that opening bit when you first get like introduced to the world, and the kind of dramatic plane crash and all that is really cool.
Yeah, that is great. I didn't even think of that.
It's not really much of a level, is it? It's just more of like the opening of the game.
But it really hooks you.
But it is kind of like a iconic opening bit. But yeah, I totally forgot about it.
It's that iconic. Chris forgot about it. Yeah, I think the thing with BioShock, I mean, it's well known that I'm not a fan. So before anyone says in the comments, and I know Al will, but I'm not a fan. I think it does do a good job of introducing the world, because like you said, the big thing about Bioshock is really the setting. Like that's really its big hook. That's really the reason you keep playing. Is I think from memory, because I have played the intro, you go down to Rapture, you get the first like plasmid electric power. You can like electrocute someone. You get a wrench, and I think you must see a Big Daddy and a Little Sister very early on, and that again sets the scene. You've got the guy in your ear, the Would You Kindly guy, and I don't know the character's name because I haven't played it, but yeah, I think
it's scary as well. The first game had a lot of horror elements in it.
That's why I didn't like it really, because I don't. You gotta be really good if you're a little bit scary and you want me to get through. So, but yeah, I think it's a good chat. And as I said, it's the archetypical. I'm hooked. Like as soon as you see Rapture, I think a normal person that isn't me is going to be like, I want to kind of find out more, and it does a good job of sort of intriguing you in that regard, which is cool.
It's an iconic setting, definitely.
It is, yeah, and I think they've been chasing that since, right? Because I think obviously the sequel was also retro.
Infinite is quite decent as well, where it's on the boat.
It's like the only part of the game I've ever seen. Is the intro where you're like flying through the air and you're using the rail and stuff.
No, so the Infinite, you're like on the boat with two of the.
Then I must have literally just seen a trailer. Then that's probably all I've ever seen of it.
Yeah, you're rowing. Somewhere, isn't that right, Chris?
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Yeah, that's like a series that like the first game didn't do it for me, so I haven't played any of the rest.
That's your next series. Once
I'm done with Metal Gear Solid, yeah. What's next? Once I've done all the Final Fantasies, like you know what I mean, like
yeah, all the Bioshocks. There's only 3 of them, so you know.
The last boss of that is I have to play Dark Souls, and I don't want to do it. I don't want PT or The Last of Us 2, which is just me vomiting into a bucket for like an hour. Anyway, Pengy, what's next?
What's next is Resident Evil 4, which is very similar to Metal Gear Solid 2 in the aspect
Maybe you've got a type of game you like, Chris.
As in, like, that obviously had the tanker, then that finishes, and then you got the oil rig and stuff like that. When obviously this opens up, you're starting with Leon, you go to your village in like Spain or something, and that's how it starts. You're in this village, trying to find people, like where's Ashley, the president's daughter, and all that sort of thing. And then you do like the whole opening village bit is like an hour or 2 long, and then obviously it cuts away the camera, and that's when you get the title credits and stuff like that. But that opening like sets the scene. What the game's gonna be, because it's completely different to 2 and 3 and Code Veronica, and that came before it, where you obviously had the fixed camera angles, you had your tank controls, you had your 3D rendered backgrounds, where this was like over the shoulder camera. That was like revolutionary, and at that time, and like you could move and shoot and stuff like that, and obviously like No, you can't in that one. You can in the Wii. You can in the Wii one.
Yeah,
you can in the Wii one
because
but like you can like obviously kick the villagers and that, and like they're not zombies and stuff like that, and like you can knife. They're parasites. It's parasites.
Yeah, I mean they're not zombies, but they do act like zombies.
Yeah,
but they're not zombies.
No, they're not zombies. And like obviously you can knife boxes and stuff like that, but it does really set the tone of like what this is going to be compared to 2 and 3. Like if you were to watch a trailer for Resident Evil 2 and then like the opening of 4, you'd be like, this is a completely different genre of game. It is much more action heavy though, which obviously then sets up the awful 5 and then 6 and stuff going.
5 isn't that bad. Let's end this now. 5's alright. 6 is terrible. 5's fine.
Yeah, 5's good. 5's a good co-op fun game.
Yeah,
but it's not Resident Evil. That's the problem. If they called it anything else, it would have been
I think it is called Resident Evil 5. Though,
yeah. So. It plays exactly like 4, which unbelievably, Chris, I have played for Resident Evil 4. That is the Resident Evil game. I think, to stop winding you up, because it's just easy to do, all of the Resident Evil games have pretty good intros, right? I think 1 has a really good intro, 0 has a good intro, 2 has a legendary intro. 3 maybe, but 3 is kind of just a retreading of 2, right? The intro.
Yeah, because it's sort of thing like it depends what you like with the intro of one. Do you like is it the cutscene up until you get to the manor and then it's like the first bit in the manor,
I think
or
it's
was it the first bit where you go for the dining hall and you open the door and you see the zombie for the first time, and sort of like that sort of thing. There's like that's the sort, and then like two. It depends how far you want to go in, but it's like, is it the first time when you see the liquor? Like, that's quite a way into the game and stuff like that. Plus, the game's really short. It's like I can do Resident Evil 2 on PS1 for like 4 hours or sort of thing. So that's quite a way in, to the game when you see like the liquor for the first time. But those sorts of like iconic moments, but they do have great openings. But four, because it's like that self-contained bit of the village where then the big doors open, then it opens up, and then you got all the lake and stuff like that.
all
But,
the brown.
it is very
It's
brown.
the brownest game ever. It's like it's kind of Gearsy and that kind of. Resident Evil 4 is funny to me because it's not very Resident Evil-y really, but it is at the same time. Like 4 and 5 are very like arguably the same game, pretty much, just a different setting in terms of gameplay. But yeah, I think I've played 4. I played 4 on the Wii, and
the Wii version's actually still the best version.
yeah, it's an interesting game. And obviously the rumors, or I don't even know if they announced it officially, but there's going to be a remake of 4. Be interesting to see if they keep that kind of action arcadey gameplay that made it so different, or if they're going to make it like the remakes of 2 and 3, which are kind of like a bit grittier and scarier and stuff. So we shall see, Pinky. So for my final game before my throat explodes is a game I know we've all played in some regard. I know Craig absolutely adores this game, and I do as well, and that is of course Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Now the intro to Black Flag is you play the Welsh scallywag Edward Kenway on a boat. So you get the boat combat first, which is arguably my favourite part of the game because it's great. And in a big storm, and then you have.
Do you know what they should do? They should make a game where you just do the boat combat.
Yeah, they should. Maybe one day they will. Ubisoft, though, who knows? And then you follow up with the assassin bit where you chase an assassin down, you kill him, you take his stuff, right? So it does the thing where it gives you the best of both worlds. You get both of the bits of gameplay straight away, which is what I love about a game. You need to basically have the whole game in that first section. You know what you're going to do. It introduces a different character as well, because you've got to remember, up until this point, we've had Altair, who was mayonnaise, right? The most boring, serious man in the world, right? You have Ezio, sexy and wonderful and Italian, and then you have Connor, who sucks. And 3 is the complete opposite end of the intro spectrum to 4 as well, which I think is why the intro to 4 is so good. There's a bit of the weird first-person realistic stuff at the beginning as well, but that lasts like 2 minutes, and you basically go into Ubisoft and then realise that they're evil, which is weird that they've done that about themselves in their own game. But anyway. But yeah, I think right up until you get the Jackdaw, I'd consider the intro to 4, and I think it's incredible. And I don't think they've ever got close to an intro that good, to be honest with you. Not since. And I don't think in any of their games, actually. I don't think Watch Dogs intro is anywhere near as good as Black Flag's. I haven't played Immortals beyond the demo, but I can't imagine it's quite as iconic as Black Flag, especially because as well you got to remember that Black Flag was a launch game for new consoles, and so like seeing the water effects and the storm effects running at 60 frames a second on Xbox One and PS4 was very impressive, and it still looked okay on the Wii U, for the record. But yeah, any intro memories, Chris and Craig, about Black Flag?
No.
Have you not played it?
I played it briefly on the Wii U.
No, you are right. This was obviously the launch title for the Xbox One and that generation.
Mm-hmm.
It was incredible for the time. It looked beautiful as well. I think there's a part of it where you're shipwrecked on a island, and that just looks incredible.
Yeah, that's the second bit where you take the assassins stuff.
Yeah. I remember like you'd walk through all the foliage in that game, and it looked so dense compared to like anything from the previous generation, and it was incredibly like. It felt so futuristic at the time, but there was just like no load screens. It wasn't right. You walk to your ship, you press a button to start on your ship, and then you go to a load screen, and then you're sailing it. It is you just run up to it and you're on it, which like obviously that's normal now, but back then that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, and it's Black Flag is one of those things where it's like we were talking about as the main sort of topic. It really hooks you in. I mean, all of the pirate puns intended there, because the character is so different to the other characters in the series that you're like, I'm really interested to see what his story is, because he's just this sort of scallywag. He really is just like a pirate. He's not an assassin order guy, not at the beginning of the game. And so you're like, right, well, where are we going? And he's got, you get an assassin, you steal an assassin stuff, and then you have like some sort of trinket that he has to give. I think he was going to betray the assassins and join the Templars, this assassin, I think. And so you go to like these meetings and you meet all these characters and stuff, and it's like, okay. And then obviously it's the Caribbean setting is very bright primary colours, and the water's like crystal clear. And so like the game, like Craig said, looks amazing. Like if you play it now with auto HDR, it's even more ridiculous. Like it's crazy to think it's a launch title to the Xbox One. It's a 8-year-old game, but it's like, yeah, like it really does like blow out. Like, okay, this is the new Assassin's Creed. Like Assassin's Creed 3 was so dry, especially as an intro, where you play as Haytham for like 8 hours, and then you play as child annoying Connor for another 8 hours, and then you actually are an assassin. Whereas this one's like, no fucking around. Here's your boat. Here's your assassin stuff. Here's your hidden blade. You're a pirate. Go and have a good time. And it just does such a great job of that. And it's I want them to make another classic Assassin's Creed game in this style. Like Chris was joking about Skull and Bones. I would take another Assassin's Creed game that's just this. Like I played Rogue, which I know Craig hasn't played and really needs to play because it is just Black Flag 2. Like I would take another one of those games any day of the week, like alongside. Like if they were to take a year out, they've done Valhalla. If they this year were like, oh, we're going to do a classic Assassin's Creed game, I'd be like, cool. Like I'd be happy to play that, but I can't see it happening. But you never know.
Because we know Assassin's Creed Infinite is official.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't know what it is, but we know Ubisoft confirmed that it is.
Let's not even get started on what Ubisoft is going to become in the next couple of years, because the signs are already there, aren't they? So we'll cross that unfortunate bridge when we get to it. But yeah, Craig, your final intro that hooked you into a video game.
I was struggling at this point, I'll be honest. So I went for Morph because it kind of introduces you to the iconic setting, and that is GTA 5's intro. If I remember rightly, you start this in the middle of a heist.
Yes, you do. Yeah,
part of the actual city or world, and then you go from that to the main city. But the actual heist itself is good fun. I think you're robbing a bank, if I remember.
Yeah, it's in like Alaska or something, right? It's like
saying. I think you play as Trevor and is it Michael? The other guy's called?
Trevor and Michael.
And then you go from that to the main city, and then you meet the third character, whose name is completely Franklin. Yeah. So it does a good job of like setting up the three main characters of that game. It's quite fun and comedic, I believe, as well, and also it has the classic GTA like opening credits where it's showing you the world, and obviously that world is incredible and so well made.
Yeah, it's basically Michael faking his own death. That's what I remember.
Yeah,
right. That's basically what the intro is. I know because I've done the intro like 4 times. I haven't got that much further. I'm so bad. The GTA games I'm always bad for.
Sorry, when the next gen version comes out, Davey, you can try again.
Oh, I know. It's mad. That's going to be on its 3rd generation platform, and it's not going to stop because it keeps being the like best-selling game every week. But yeah, it's a pretty iconic intro. Even so, I remember playing that because this is end of 360, like the same year as Xbox One, I believe. Chris can probably correct me. I think it was 2013, and so it's the whole ordeal with it, especially with the 360 version, is you had like 2 discs. You had one disc you had to install, and then you had another disc which they were like, don't install because that will kill it. So you'd already waited probably an hour, right? So you bought the game, you probably waited an hour, like setting the thing up, and then the initial load time on the 360 version of that game is fucking ridiculous. So it's lucky that first section is great, because that game would have just been oof otherwise. But I think it's a good it's a good 5-10 minutes, that first load, I think. Which is weird because it's like I said, it's a self-contained section of the game, and then it loads behind a cutscene, I think it starts with Michael's therapy. Is
Yes,
the
it
first
does.
thing it opens with.
Yep.
But yeah,
He's
it's
on
really,
the beach when he meets Franklin, and then it goes to the therapy. Yeah.
yes, yeah, and it's like really it's really iconic, and it introduces the combat, introduces the changing between characters, which is, like you said, is the main part of the game, and you see the madness that is Trevor early on, and yeah, I think that game does a really good job of hooking you. I think if you were, because when you buy a game like GTA, it's what I like to call an event game. So there's two types of games for me. There's a game you just want to play, and there's an event game. An event game like GTA needs to have that big oomph start because it's such a big event. Like the best
The
way
anticipation behind
Yeah.
like GTA 5 was just incredible.
Yeah,
It's massive.
It's one of those games like Red Dead Redemption 2 had a similar intro, I think, if my memory serves me, because it's you're literally in the snow as well, actually, for Red Dead 2. But it's one of those games that
Oh yeah, you got the train and that.
so it's one of those games where like your normal friends talk about it. You know, not just like us, like your normal friends, like we know people we've worked with and we still work with that don't buy many games, and it's that big event game. And when you have a big event game, you need to have that good start. So it is lucky that GTA had that. If you would compare that to even Assassin's Creed 4, which I don't think is a big event game, like people played it, but it wasn't like, you know, it's much less pressure. But for GTA, it had to start well, and that's why all the GTA games do start well. I can't think of a GTA game that doesn't have a good intro. Like 3 has that really cool intro. Vice City has a really cool intro. San Andreas has a really cool intro. 4 is Off the Boat, which is an iconic intro with Roman. Let's go bowling today. It's great. And obviously GTA 6 in 2035 will have which will be all online, so it won't even matter. But yeah, it's a good choice, and it's another game I need to finish at some point in my life.
Well, like you said, like Craig said, you can play the next gen.
I'll play on
version,
I'll play on PS6 when that comes out.
Hasn't it just left Game Pass for like the fourth
Second time
as well?
It's left for the second time, yeah. But if you
hope
don't,
it comes back for the next gen, because I think I would actually play it again.
I mean, if
for the
you
third
don't have a
time.
copy of GTA, like, what are you doing wrong? Like,
I might have it somewhere.
'cause
It's just so easy on Game
they,
Pass, isn't
they
it?
give it out. I think I bought it digitally for like £7 a couple of years ago when me and Pete had an urge one night to play the multiplayer. So we were like, I'm just gonna buy it, and that's another franchise that hasn't. Well, I like to call an event release as well, which has like the big box and it has like.
I do have it.
There we go.
I've got the classic, the alternate cover on as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and it's got like the map and stuff, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna unfold it now, and I'm never gonna be able to fold it up again. Look at the size of this thing, Christ! Oh my god, I can't even. It's huge.
It's what I love, right? So this is a complete aside. They used to do this, right? Because it used to be such a big game and you'd need it. Whereas now, I don't think I've never not just like looked it up on the internet. You know what I mean? It's like, I need to know where I'm going. I'd love to be in that world where I stick it on the wall and I'm like, right, I need to go, right, if I take a left here. I think there's even GPS in these games now, so I don't, what's going on.
Yeah,
but,
it actually is.
But yeah, GTA 5, it's a good intro. Right, Pengy, take us home. Your final intro game.
I actually changed my mind during this. Something else comes in my mind, and that is, I hope you're okay, Dave. So I might make you vomit here.
It's going to be The Last of Us, isn't it?
It is The Last of Us Part 1.
It's the only good part of the game, so you might as well talk about it.
Yeah, obviously the opening of that, where you're playing as Sarah, and you play as Joel as well, for briefly, but plays Sarah in the house, which obviously is going to set up the dramatic end of that section, and the world of like the outbreak of starting of like the spores and all that of they're not zombies, obviously it's the mushrooms and stuff like that, obviously the spores, and it sets it all up as a very dramatic start, and you're like, oh, what's gonna happen after? And it kind of sets up like the whole story of Joel and Ellie afterwards as as well, because obviously what happens in the opening, it is like a fantastic first bit of the game. It's going to be interesting to obviously see that in when they do the HBO series with Matey. I can't remember. I don't know can't remember what his actual name is. It's the guy that plays Mando in Mandalorian, and that he's playing Joel. You know the one. You know who I mean.
Troy Baker.
Not Troy Baker. He obviously plays. in the game. You know, when they did the series, the guy that plays Amando in The Mandalorian, he's own.
Pascal, Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, obviously he's playing Joel in the series. So it'd be interesting how that all shakes out when the HBO series comes. But that is a pretty decent opening of the game.
Yeah, so like I've talked many times about my complete hatred of this game. It's not because I hate it. It's just I think it's the most overhyped game. I've never played it or watched it or done anything where I've gone, this is a 10 out of 10 game. I just don't get it. It's a PlayStation game, so it gets this rub. That's what really winds me up. But the intro is very good because it does a really good job. It does the rare thing in the zombie genre where it does the actual outbreak. Like as the only other game I can think of doing this really well is the Telltale Walking Dead game, which does a really good job of like as it's happening, as shit's going down, you're sort of witnessing it through the eyes of this character, and who you don't play as for the rest of the game because she dies at the end of the intro. But
spoilers.
I mean, if you haven't seen that, then if you're a PlayStation fan and you're watching this, I'm sorry. Like, why are you doing it?
I think it came out in 2013.
It was the same as GTA. It came out as the new consoles were coming out.
Yeah, so it had an 8-year-old game.
Yeah, I mean, come on. But it's the best part of the game. I played how long? I think I got like 6 hours into the first Last of Us like a couple of years ago when I tried to replay it, and it does a good job because it hides the deficiencies of the game for me, because it's the most interesting part of the game, which is the story. The story's really interesting. It kicks you in the dick straight away. You're like, oh my god, I want to know what happens now. Like, how does he recover from this? Where the world's moved on, because I think it does a time skip for like 10 years or something.
Yeah.
So you're like, cool, where are we? Like, what has happened to the world? And that is the hook that gets you into the game. The rest of the game's terrible. That's its fault. Like, whatever. Like, the gameplay's awful. It's got the worst stealth mechanics in any game. The shooting sucks. But if you were interested, it does a good job of hooking you in. I can see that. Obviously, Craig hasn't played it because he's pure and safe, and he never has to play it. So I envy you. I can't get that time back, but Craig's
just going to watch the HBO series because it's got Pascal in it.
Yeah, I mean the series are pretty better than the game, right? Because that's the story's the best bit. So if you take out the bad gameplay, I just want PlayStation fans to hate me. Just go and hate me. I've got PS5 as well. But yeah, so that's 9 games with good intros. I hope that's inspires some of you to go out there and play Assassin's Creed, because I think that's the one that everyone's. I'm kind of tempted, if I'm honest. But yeah, I mean, there's so many games I could have just pulled out the hat that have good intros. Maybe we'll do the other way. We'll do like really awful intros that stop you playing the game, and me and Craig can just talk about Assassin's Creed 3 for like 2 hours. Just for like.
It is the longest tutorial ever. It's awful.
I wouldn't mind if you were going to play as Haytham for the rest of the game. It's just when you get and he's like, oh no, you don't play as this dude. I'm like, why have I just done half the game? Is it? What am I doing?
And I've got another tutorial. It's another character.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you're a child hunting, and the child's annoying, and then Connor, when he's an adult, is annoying as well because he's just a brat. It's bad, right? So this is a complete side. So that intro is almost the entire length of Rogue. Like, Rogue is like 10 hours, if that. You could just play Rogue instead of playing the Assassin's Creed 3 intro. And no one's played Rogue because it was that weird only on 360 and PS3 game when Unity came out, and its remaster was like, I don't think it was widely released massively on disc. So anyway, so that was the episode this week, guys. Obviously lots of revelations. The fact that I'm playing Metal Gear Solid is a big revelation for Chris. I know he's going to be up
and
an
indie game.
And an indie game.
Yeah, I'm very excited to hear about more Metal Gear.
More Metal Gear Solid next week. Ugh.
Yeah.
Hindy. Yeah. That's my intro so far.
And then after Metal Gear, we can get you to play Zone of the Enders. And
I've played Zone of the Enders. It's the most aggressively okay game. It's like, okay, it's a mech game. Okay. GG, Kojima. Anyway, I'm not going to turn into a Kojima stan, Craig. Don't worry. Like, I have taste. The only stan I am is for our Lord and Savior, Daddy Phil Spencer. That's the only person I pray to every day, that he keeps bringing me the Xbox goodness. So, if you like the show, drop a like, drop a comment. I know Al will. Now that Al's got an Xbox. By the way, that should have been a whole episode. Maybe that'll be next week's episode.
Like Game Pass recommendations.
Game Pass recommendation for Al. So there you go, Al. That's next week. So next week we're going to do games we recommend for Al from Game Pass. Okay, and for anyone else who's just bought an Xbox, we'll call the episode "So You've Just Bought an Xbox." So I don't even think Al's played like that much Halo. That's the craziness. Because we're gonna forget that you can play all of Halo and all of Gears and stuff because it's like a given. We've all played it loads of times, apart from Chris, because obviously doesn't like games. Anyway, so if you want to follow us, follow Chris on Twitter at MassiveDas, follow Craig in the streets, and follow me at EUFGizmo. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I've not stopped yet, right? I'm going to keep this in.
Every time.
Chris's weird, creepy ASMR bye is great.